Alkanes. Today's lesson, we're going to learn about the alkanes. Now, I will be able to also introduce what molecular formula, general formula, and all these things mean. So firstly, we're going to make essentially a table and draw out the first 5 alkanes. You're supposed to know how to do that for the first 5. So we're going to put name on the left here. Then we're going to do displayed formula. So displayed formula means that you're showing all the bonds in the molecule. Then we're going to write molecular formula. Molecular formula is when you add up all the atoms and you list them alphabetically. For example, C10H50 or whatever it is. And lastly, we're going to write structural formula. Now, structural formula is when you list everything in sections. So the first alkane is going to be called methane. And it will be made of 1 carbon. Now, carbon is in group 4, so it needs 4 bonds. So we're going to put 4 bonds around it made of hydrogen. The molecular formula will be CH4. The structural formula will be the same because you cannot break that up into any sections. It's just 1 carbon. The next one is going to be called ethane. It's going to have 2 carbons. Now each carbon needs 4 bonds. So that's already got 1 bond. So 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. That's called ethane. Notice how the ending is always ane. And that's why this topic is called alkane. Alkanes. Name, displayed formula, molecular, structural. Now the molecular formula will be C2 because there's 2 carbons. And NH6 if you count the hydrogens. Now if you list it in sections, the first section is C with 3 H's. So it'll be CH3, CH3. That will be the structural formula. I'm only going to do one more and then show you all of them on the notes. So propane is 3. You put the bonds around it. Remember that these bonds are all covalent. They're all sharing 1 pair of electrons between the carbon and the hydrogen. Everything is covalent, non-metals. C3H8, because there's 8 hydrogens. If you're doing sections, you go C with 3 H's, so CH3. Then you go C with 2 H's, so CH2. Then you have a C with 3 H's, so CH3. So methane, ethane, propane. Before I show you all of them, we should be able to work out the general formula. General formula. Remember in the first lesson, I told you that you will see what this means. Just like in maths, when you do like the nth term, this will be in terms of n. So for every carbon, if you look what's happening, we're going from 1 to 4, from 2 to 6, 3 to 8. So in order to do that, you can't just say it's 1 times 4, because 2 times 4 is 8, not 6. So instead, the way to do it would be to double this number and add 2. So 1 times 2 is 2, plus 2 is 4. 2 times 2 is 4, plus 2 is 6. 3 times 2 is 6, plus 2 is 8. So in other words, the general formula is CnH2n plus 2. This is the general formula of the alkanes. So if someone asks you what is C10, well, C10 will be 2 times 10 plus 2, which will make it 22. Now, you don't actually need to know the name of the 10th one, but this one's called decane. Okay. I'm now going to show you all of them, because you have them in the notes. So here you go. Now remember, you only need to know up to the first 5. First 5, yeah, you don't need the 6th one. So methane, ethane, propane, butane, pentane. They didn't do the structural, so the structural for this would be CH3, CH2, CH2, and then CH3. And the last one will be CH3, CH2, 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 CH3. That will be the structural formula. I recommend you practice drawing all of these out on the table like I was doing. Now, how to remember the names? Monkeys eat peanut butter pancakes. Monkeys eat peanut butter pancakes. Methane, ethane, propane, butane, pentane. The one people usually mess up is propane. Pentane is easy because it's like a pentagon. Interestingly, you'll notice that the boiling points are increasing as you go down the group. If you remember from the crude oil lesson, that's because the intermolecular forces are getting stronger and more energy is needed to overcome these stronger forces. So the first four are gases, and then pentane is the first liquid. As I said, whoever does Edexcel, I will do a separate lesson on isomerism. For now, this is the basics. You should know how to do all these general, displayed, and formulae. The other main thing I forgot to talk about is the term saturated. So if you think about having a cup that's saturated with sugar, it means no more sugar can be added. So in the sense of the alkanes, think saturated means that you cannot add any more hydrogens. It has the maximum capacity. So the official definition of saturated is that there's only single carbon-carbon bonds. Only is important, single. Specified carbon-carbon because we're focusing on carbon. So alkanes are saturated, and you can remember it as S for single. Okay, that's the alkanes actually covered. Next, we need to do the pollutants. So what happens if you do combustion reactions? But in terms of alkanes in their pure sense, we have now finished them. Remember, they have covalent bonds. Each of these, they're sharing a pair of electrons. So join me next time for the combustion reactions and other pollutants.